Well, welcome to Her Circle with me and Ashley. And can we say this that we're switching it up and we're doing it remote? Is that how we would say?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess remote. Chandler's in Texas. I'm here in Arizona with a little setup and
Mm-hmm. First time trying this, and it was a fun little journey to get this to work.
yeah,
But
it was
we did
easy for
it.
me. I didn't have
Yeah,
to do anything. So,
that's fair. You had a Heston.
yeah,
I didn't. Love you,
I do
Ryan, but
not.
I did not have somebody that could just like set it up for me. So we just threw it together, but it'll be okay.
hmm
It's not as fun, but
It's not
it'll
as
do.
fun. It's
It'll
okay.
do. Hopefully
It'll
we don't.
do. We knew this would happen eventually. It's
Yeah.
just not realistic sometimes for Chandler to travel every 6 weeks or so, as much as selfishly, I
Yeah.
think we both selfishly enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Got
And
spoiled
now
there for a while.
Yeah, so it's good to know that this is an option.
Mhm.
And because Chandler's going to be traveling this summer, I'm going to be gone pretty much all of July to the middle
Yeah.
of August. Then we're going to be traveling sort of together.
Yeah. We need to
When? End of August, right?
yeah, we need to try to do a little setup there.
Yes, that would
That
be
would be
fun.
fun. Little
Yeah,
destination
that'd
podcast
be cool. And the
episode.
cute, did you see the house that we rented? Did my
I
mom
think I
send
did.
it
I
to
think
you?
your mom sent it to me
It's cute.
because she like sent me one and she was like asking me like how far it was, and I was like from the beach. I was like, well, it doesn't look like it's too far, and like the reviews were saying that it wasn't like too bad. But I was like, yeah, looks cute. And then she called my mom. My mom was here, and my mom's like, I don't know. And then they were like stressing out about it. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm no help. We were like limited on what we could find too, and so
hmm
they winded up finding. I think the one she sent me was the one that she winded up going with, which would be
Yeah,
nice because stay with y'all. We'll stay with y'all like the first day and the last day.
good. I knew she said there was like a couple days where you and Ryan were going to be hanging
Yeah,
out with us, so that'll be nice.
because I told him I was like we were just gonna do like a hotel room, and I was like, well, if you guys have a place to where it's like a little bit bigger, I was like we can
Mhm.
just pay our portion of it and help with those days to be able to
Yeah,
cover.
that's a
So
good
she's like,
idea.
okay. So then that way we can
Sweet.
stay with y'all some too.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. When are y'all going to Florida?
July 18th.
To when? All the way through August?
My parents, I think they're going to stay until,
They're going from there to St.
yeah,
Simon.
they're going to go from there to St. Simon. So they'll be there quite a long time.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure when I'm going to leave. I don't have to be back for the kids' school because it's the homeschool. So
Hmm.
I already talked to their teachers and they're fine. They're just going to make it work for them, which is nice. So I
Yeah.
don't have to be back. I just don't know how long I want to stay. The idea of staying the whole time is like really nice, but also with the kids and not being in a routine, not being in our own place, sometimes you just hit a wall where you're like, I got to go back to my own
Yeah.
house. So we'll see. I'd like to do like 4 weeks, I
Yeah.
think. So that's kind of the goal, but I also have to figure out what Heston's plan is. I don't know how long he's going to stay because that's a long time to be away.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's
Last
true.
time he came back twice, which was really nice.
That's nice.
Yeah. So he was only with us for like 6 days, and then he left to go to Utah to do a Spartan race, and then back to
Yeah.
Arizona, and then he came back for the last I think 8 or 9 days,
Okay.
which was nice. But
That is nice.
yeah, so we'll see. You good?
Yeah. There's like there's like a button on my mic. It's like not a button, but if you touch it, it turns it off. I
Oh
didn't know
yeah.
that until he did, but it's like on the bottom.
Hmm.
And so I adjusted, and so now I'm like paranoid that I'm gonna hit it and not know it, and then you won't hear
I
me. I
don't think I'd
guess
be able to hear you.
so. You would be able to be like, "Yo, bro."
I think so.
Okay, good. Because I did not. I'm like, that's a terrible spot.
I know. I think these ones are on the bottom too, but they're a switch that you have to
Yeah,
flick.
it's like you just tap it. It's not even a button. It's like you just tap it, like
That
your
sounds
phone screen
terrible.
or something. Yeah, I'm like, that is
Hmm.
not smart. So I'm like, I was paranoid that I hit it. Um, so you guys, the July 18th is when they're leaving. Like you guys would leave.
To Florida, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That'll be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
Couple
it'll
of 4 weeks.
be we're getting home from Utah I think the 14th.
Is that
So it's
when
going to
you're
be a
going
quick
the
to Bear Lake.
Bear Lake? Okay, yeah.
Mhm. So it'll be a fast, like, come home, wash everything, repack, head to Florida.
Yeah, that'd be a quick
So,
turnaround.
yeah.
That'd be
Last
fun
year
though.
we did Bear Lake 2 days later, like, flew to California and then got home 2 days later, flew to Florida. So
Wow.
it was a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
And after we got back from Florida, I just said to Heston, I'm not traveling till next summer. And I don't
That's
think
really
we've
cute.
gone anywhere,
You're like, I'm not doing anything.
which has been just fine with me.
I would say sometimes I say that.
Yeah.
I actually don't feel that way ever, but I also don't have 3 kids.
But you do have something now.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I have a
Welcome, Chandler, to the mom dog.
mom dog world.
Yeah.
He is so stinking cute. Yeah, we got a little Frenchie. It was a little I say it was spur of the moment. I mean, I guess it kind of was, but yeah, he's adorable. I mean, we had been like talking about it, and obviously, like, we don't need one. We're never
Hmm.
home. And so then a girl that I actually went to high school with was breeding them. And I just like messaged her out of curiosity of like how much they were. And she told me,
Hmm.
and me and Ryan were like, oh, we don't need to do that. It's fine. And then she like messaged me probably like, I guess like a week or so, maybe more after that initial. And she's like, let me know like she was dropping the prices on, I guess, I don't know how many of them or like one or two of them. And that he was still left. And if we'd be interested. And so I was like, dang it.
Hmm.
So we
I'm
like talked
surprised
about
that
it.
he is one that was left because his coloring
I
is
know he's
so,
so stinking cute.
yeah,
And
he's got
even
a really cool color.
we had a lot of people have like been complimenting like his coloring and like coat. And Ryan even has a friend that like breeds Frenchies. He's like in the DFW area. He
Hmm.
breeds Frenchies, and Ryan has been like talking him back and forth, just like tips and tricks of like what eating and things like that. And he like sent a picture to him. He's like, oh wow, that's like a really like rare like breed and coloring. He's like, he's so pretty. Like, and we're like, oh okay. I was like, I just picked him because I like the coloring, and I always said that if I got one, I was gonna be specifically he was gonna be like the silver, like all silver coat, or like that, like the two tone, but still like that silvery gray.
Hmm.
And then I wanted them to have colored eyes, and so his eyes aren't like as blue as I kind of like wish they were, but they're like a greeny blue, but they're
Yeah. And I
still
wonder
cute.
if they'll change a little bit as he gets older, too.
Yeah, I don't know. But his this one of the sisters has the same coat as him, and her eyes are like sky blue, like they were really blue. But I didn't want a girl.
Yeah, I was going to
We
ask, did
wanted
you
a male.
specifically want a boy?
We specifically wanted a male,
Hmm. What's
but
his name?
Theodore, he's so cute, and he
He's
wears
so
a bow
cute.
tie because he's fancy, he's
He's
snazzy.
a gentleman.
Yes, he is a gentleman. I had to give him an old man name. So we settled on Theodore. He I picked one originally and Ryan said no, so then we went with Theodore. But I'm like, you could have really gone with a lot of names. You could have done like Melvin.
What was the original name?
I wanted to do Chauncey, and he said no.
Oh, I love that.
I know. But he was like, that was always supposed to be your pig's name. I was like, well, I don't have a pig, so I figured I could use it for this guy. And so he's like, meh. And so we did Theodore, which I, whatever. But everyone that I tell that to, they're like, you should have done Chauncey. I'm like, I know. Nobody has that. Well, I'm sure somebody does, but that's not a very common, like, dog name or name, actually.
Name in general.
So I'm
Theodore's
like,
cute. It fits
yeah,
him.
it does fit him. It really
Theo,
does.
Teddy,
Hmm. So I'm like, it fits him. He's thinking cute. It's, it's real, man. I'm ready to just be potty trained. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever. It's just he's actually really good. It's just nice that I'm excited just not to have to be like so worried about what he's doing. Like when he walks away, I'm like, "Where are you going?" Every time he's on a carpet, I'm like, "Don't you do it." But other than that, I mean, he's been good. He's been like sleeping through the night,
Nice.
pretty good without like going because we put him in like a crate at night.
Hmm.
He goes like good throughout the night without using the restroom or anything. So It took a little bit for him to do that, but he's been doing that the last like 2 nights or so. So that's been a
Nice.
little treat. But
Yeah.
the sun comes up at like 6:30, so he's up, and because he thinks he needs to be up, so that's been fun. Which whatever. We usually wake up and play, and then he decides he wants to take a nap. I'm like, you could have just stayed asleep a little bit longer. So, but it's fun.
Yes. I know
He's,
the feeling very well.
yeah, you have a dog and 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
everyone
dog it's 3 kids, dog.
dog.
So even if she was
Well,
whining to get out at 6, it still wouldn't happen.
yeah, but they're just like one extra thing you have to like worry or think about
Yeah.
because they can't like open the doors for themselves, and let themselves out.
Well,
Or
she's probably close. I wouldn't be
it,
surprised if she could do
that's
it.
probably true. That's true. I
Yeah.
think we want to get a little doggy door for him at some point so he can just like go in and out because he loves
Mhm.
being outside. So that's been really nice. But he
Yeah.
also really hates the heat. So I'm like, give it a couple weeks, you're not gonna want to be outside. So we'll have to figure that out. Give him a little like puppy fan or like pool or something that he can
Oh,
be
that'd
in.
be cute to
When
keep
they
them
have like
cooled
their
off.
breathing problems, which obviously Frenchies have their problems. So, but breathing is one of them. So I'm sure the heat does not help. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
I know
have
they
to
get, like, skin allergies and asthma and all
mhm,
that fun stuff.
heart
So
problems, digestive problems,
mhm.
you know, eyes. Yeah, they're just,
Yeah,
but
good
it's
luck with
fine.
that.
We didn't get it for the we didn't get it for the health. I was telling someone I met somebody the other day that had a Frenchie, and we were just talking about like potty training. And he's like, "Oh, good luck. We've had ours for a year, and she still like acts up." And I was like, "Well, I didn't get them for their brains. Like, I didn't pick a Frenchie going, these dogs are geniuses. Like, they're just gonna pick up on everything. Like, that's not what I was like hoping for. It wasn't like I got like a golden retriever or like a lab. Like, my expectations of this stuff was not." And I was like, "No, and plus, like puppies probably at one or two, like they're still gonna do things. They're puppies. They're energetic. They're gonna
Absolutely.
bite things. So I'm like, I'm not gonna expect him to just never. But it'll be nice to like not have to worry about it too much. But he was like,
Mhm.
she's a year old and she still like sneaks into the closet to go to the bathroom. I'm like, yeah, well, Frenchies are just, I don't. They're just
I
cute.
guess the attitude that you have, as long as you know what you've signed on for,
Yeah,
then
that's
it's
what
okay.
we went to the vet and they were talking about like insurance, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we will be getting pup insurance. We're going to be
Mhm.
those people because this dog is going to have issues." And they were like warning us about all this stuff, and we're like, "We know. Like we're already expecting to have something wrong. Like obviously we'd hope not, but just with the breed." And she's like, "I'm so glad you guys know this and have that mindset." She's like, "You would be surprised how many people buy these dogs and are like overwhelmed or so confused or upset." That I'm like, yeah, it's like bulldogs or pugs. I'm like, these breeds aren't like, they're not
They're not meant
thriving, they're
to
surviving.
last. Yeah.
They're just so cute. So we're
Yeah.
just gonna give him the best little life while he has it, and it'll
That's
be
funny.
great, and we'll take care of him. But he's super cute. So his little bow ties, and he's just adorable.
I love it.
Yeah, I love him.
Okay. Well, today we're going to talk about the Fourth Wing book,
Mm-hmm.
which is very popular. I feel like
Yes.
women our age, especially, what do you think age
Yeah.
wise?
I I feel like young women, young
Like young
adults.
adults?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I
I
wasn't
think it'd be.
sure.
I think it'd be. I don't know if I want to say like young. What is young adults? Like 20s?
I
Because I'm
guess.
like, there are some things in it that I'm like, I wouldn't want like young adult. Yeah, I would, because I would read. I feel like I could have read this like in high school and it would have been
In
fine.
high school, I don't know. There were some
Really?
spicy
I
parts.
mean, I
Yeah.
will say I did. I did read 50 Shades of Grey like early on, high school, college, because I didn't know what it was when I bought it.
And everyone was so
I mean,
obsessed with it.
I read that and I was like, I think back about that now. I'm
I've
like
never
so,
read
and I'm
that
still
series.
naive. I'm still naive to this
Yeah.
day. I've like think about that book, like reading it now, and I'm like, oh my God, no. I feel like I read that book back then and probably didn't even know what I was reading half the time.
I
I
never
refuse
read
to.
it.
Oh
I've
yeah,
never
I
had, like,
wouldn't
the
suggest
desire to
it.
read it.
No.
And from what I've, like, read about it, I don't even think the writing's that good.
Yeah, no.
So
I
it's
wouldn't
not like I'm
suggest
missing
it.
out on some, like,
I literally
high.
had no idea what it was when I picked it up at the bookstore.
Well, it
I was
was
just like, "Oh,
everywhere. Like, I
yeah,
remember seeing it at Costco
yeah,
and it being this huge thing. And then I was on vacation with one of my friends' families, and
yeah,
I've had a Kindle for years.
yeah."
And I was just reading on the beach, and all the women, like all the sisters and sister-in-laws, were like, "Are you reading 50 Shades of Grey on that?" And I'm like, "No, what are you
No.
talking about?" And they're like, "I know a lot of women who have been getting the Kindles because they want to read it without everyone knowing what they're reading,
Oh,
that book, because that was kind of the first, like,
yeah, little that's
soft,
funny.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean, kind of book." So,
When they
but
made it sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, I thought this book was quite spicy in some
It
parts.
was I thought it was too, but, I mean, yeah, so maybe, like, college, young adults? I mean, I wouldn't have suggested reading that in high school, but I also, like, was so naive in high school that I don't even know if my brain even, like, went to things that some people's did.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
it's definitely young adults, like but I know a lot of people that like this, like the Court of Thorns
Thorns and
or
Roses and
that,
Thorns
which
or something.
I think I heard that those are even spicier.
So I read the first and the second of that book.
Mhm.
I guess it's probably the same level.
Okay,
I think there's more in the Court of Thorns and Roses than in this one. This one just
okay.
had a couple, but I felt like those couple scenes were very detailed.
Yeah,
So I was
yeah,
kind of surprised by that. And then the other one, I felt like it was just a more frequent, like, you know what's going on kind of situation.
yeah.
So,
Just
but
how
yeah,
it was
definitely
written.
would not let my teenage daughter read this book.
No, yeah, no.
But I mean, as far as like the rest of the story, very cool.
Yeah. It's just like if you could take those parts out.
Hmm.
But then I guess that's where they wanna, like, appeal to, like, the younger spice it up a little bit for the young or women. I'm like, "That's so funny, I wouldn't even have thought about the Kindle to, like, hide what
Hide
you're
what you're
reading." I'm
reading.
like, I've
Yeah.
never even, like, thought about that or, like, worried about but then again, I guess I wasn't reading anything that I thought I needed to
Same. And I was
worry
like,
about.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I was reading, and I remember the book I was reading. It's called A Time to Kill. And I'm like, this is not anything close to.
You're like, not even well, when they said they're well, when they did make it into a movie, I'm like, "There's no way." Like, that's not a movie. Like, that's, something else. And if you make it a movie, then it's not the book because the book
Right.
was pretty bad. So I'm like, I didn't ever go see the movie, but I'm like, what would even have appealed you to the movie? Because there's no way it can be done in the
With a
theaters.
rated R rating
Yeah. Or
appropriately.
yeah. So I was like, that's an interesting. So I don't actually know how the movie was because that didn't interest me in any way. But
Yeah.
people went and saw it, and it came out, like Valentine's Day. I'm
I
like, oh
know,
my
which I
gosh.
thought was weird because
Yeah.
I know it's like an abusive
Yeah,
relationship.
I'm like,
So
it's
just
definitely
keep confusing everyone.
but a lot of people don't look at it that way, like how it was written, of it being almost like, "This is toxic. This is
Hmm.
not what you should be," because it was, like, glorified.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, yeah, that's what women want." I'm like, "No." Well, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but
Not healthy women,
yeah,
but I don't know. What do
what do
I
we
know?
know? So I got a couple of, like, book club questions
Yeah.
that we can go through and kinda see, and I've read this, like, quite a bit ago. And then told had you read it to see like if you wanted to like do this. So I'm a little might be a little bit rustier than you on my questions, but
And it took me an embarrassingly long time to get through this book. And how did you read it on the Kindle, or how thick is this book? Because
okay, I will say they are big books. I read it
are
on my
they?
Kindle, but
Okay.
I think Ryan's sisters have the books and they're I don't know if you can see my hand, but
Yeah.
they're healthy. It's not
Okay.
a
Because
short
I
book.
kept reading it, and I'm like, I am not making any
You're like,
progress
what
here.
percent am I at?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was fine, but I just was like, I'm reading another book and I'm almost done with it. And I feel like I just started it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that other book had to have been
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah, they're not quick and they're all pretty I think all
Hefty.
3 of them are pretty, like they're good, yeah,
Okay. That's good
but
to know. It makes me feel
yeah. Also, like,
less slow.
you're a mom and have 3 kids, so it's not like you can just, like read all
Well, I
the
read
time.
every night for almost an hour.
Oh, okay.
Like, I felt like I was
Yeah,
putting in
that's
the
good.
time as
Are you a
much. I
slow
wish
reader?
I apparently that's what I'm saying. Like, they have to be big books or my mind is
They were
just
big.
not what it used to be.
No, they were big. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
No,
That makes me feel better.
that's so funny. I remember like talking about it and you're like, okay, I'm gonna start it. I'll probably be done. And you gave me like what, like a week or two, and then you're like, no, you're like, I don't even think I'm halfway. And I was like, just get to it
Yeah.
when you get to it. We'll
And
go
what
from
was
there.
crazy is at that point, I remember even thinking, like, okay, if I stay up for a couple hours, I can totally power through this. There was no way that was going to happen.
No. Well, then you get in that like where you're not paying attention to it. I don't know if you do that, where you're like not paying attention to it and you like reread the line. You're like, wait, let me go back. And you're like not focusing. So then it takes you forever to read a page. I'm like, well, that's
Yes.
not doing any good.
Yes.
I've done that before if I get like overly tired or if the story's not like pulling me in,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, what the heck? Oh, did you hear that?
I did. Is
Dang.
that your phone?
No, it's Ryan's because it's connected.
Oh.
That might be an issue.
Hmm.
Well,
I don't know how to
I don't know.
silence
I
the
don't know how to silence that either.
notifications. So,
So hopefully it doesn't happen again. Because I when earlier when we were testing it, because all his like stuff is connected because it's all Apple.
yeah.
His sister FaceTimed and it came up. So I went out there. I was like, you can't be doing any of that in a little bit because it'll. He goes, nobody's gonna FaceTime me this late. I'm like, okay, that's fair, but I didn't think about texting. So
Yeah.
it's 11 o'clock, people. Stop
Knock it
texting.
off.
Yeah, go to bed.
Let
Why
the
are
man
you in
sleep.
bed? I'm like, why are you awake? Okay, so we can go through the questions and see, and then we can talk like theories and stuff. So I guess spoiler alert, if you want to read this book and you don't want anything, then just
Yes.
read it and come back and
Yeah.
you can have your opinions too. I feel like a lot of people have already read this, but you never know.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. What was the first one? So how did Violet's journey? I don't even know how you say that. Is it Bashkith? Bashkith?
I was saying Basquiat.
Okay, that's good. War college. Challenge her physically and emotionally. Did you find her transformation believable? Like that she could have actually have done it? If I'm
I
being
do.
oh, you're so nice. I was like, if I'm being completely honest, no. Like I just think, okay, I like thought about myself and like with my knees because that was like her big thing, like all of her weakness and like her joints dislocating.
Mm-hmm.
I lived that with my knees, and I'm like, there's no way. But I guess she just powered through more than I would have.
Well, that and she did all the wrapping, constantly was
Yeah.
wrapping up all of her joints preventatively. And then I felt like when she connected with Imogen, is that who it was? Like training her.
But yeah, she did the get her like stronger.
So
Yeah.
I felt like as a team, they really focused on getting her stronger because
Yeah.
when you're in a group like this, you're only as strong as your weakest person.
Yeah.
So they had to make sure that she was not going to be a liability for the entire squad.
Yeah. And I will say she didn't let that be a reason.
Right.
Like she wasn't like, oh, like she was like, no, I will. Or she worked through it. She powered through it. So I will say she did like train to get stronger, tried to adapt, figured out ways that like she could do the task or do
Mhm.
whatever she needed to do.
Yeah.
So I will say that, but I do think about like the dislocating and I'm like, that just what? Like there's no way. Your joints
hmm
are just like popping out all over the place.
Yeah.
And then I was like, as she got stronger, but the stuff still happened.
hmm
So I think
I
in my
think it
head,
happens less because I know sometimes with arthritis, and they don't ever talk about the chronic illness that she has.
yeah,
They don't give it a name. But I know with like arthritis, the more you strengthen the muscle around the
around it.
joints, they're less likely to have like suffer an injury as
Yeah.
quickly. But at the beginning of the story, she was working she had to use her brain way more
Yes.
to get
Mhm.
through. Like, so there were examples when they have to physically fight other cadets.
Mhm.
And how did she figure out who it was? I can't
I
remember
can't
that
remember
part.
how she figured out like who she was up with
Like
next. I don't know if it
she
was
got, she
somebody
had
that
that
like
book
had the
from her
list.
Like she had that book from her brother that kind of gave her the
Yeah.
secrets. And so is that what it was? And it told her where to look to see who she was going to be up
Yeah,
against
because then yeah, maybe that was what it was on how to figure out who, because then she just did stuff to almost like poison them
in
or
them
like,
because she knew she had to,
yeah. So
which
she did use other things and like almost like you said, like her brain.
her, yeah, because she was originally going to be a scribe,
Mm-hmm. Which is what
um,
she wanted to do. I
which
don't
is
think
what she wanted to do, but her mom
forced
had
her. Heather.
other ideas.
So yeah, so she was obviously very smart and knew
Yes.
a lot. So
And
that
she used that
benefited
to
her in
her
that.
advantage. So I felt
Mhm.
like that was her like figuring out how to survive. And then she gets to a point where she is chosen by the dragon, a strong dragons and two dragons. And well, you'll find out. Um, so yes, her transformation was believable. I did think I had it in my head that when she bonded with a dragon, that her like chronic illness was going to go away. So
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they kept her in that like state of illness
Mhm.
and she still struggled with like staying strong because you're supposed to ride the dragons without anything to hold you to the dragon, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she couldn't physically hold onto the dragon the way she was supposed to like normal riders, and she couldn't climb up
His,
Tairn's
yeah.
leg the way
Yeah.
she was normally
She
supposed
couldn't like
to.
mount him, yeah.
So I had it in my head like, oh, as soon as she bonds with a dragon, she's going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that the author decided to keep that in the whole time and still
Mhm.
have that be something she struggles with.
Yeah,
I thought
and
that was
I
interesting.
thought too with the dragon that it was interesting to me too that the dragon adapted to her because that doesn't ever happen. Because it's like you adapted to the seat and kneeling, like he kneeled down for her. So I'm like, that is crazy to me because dragons don't do that. And wasn't he, I believe he like wasn't supposed to be like
They
one,
didn't because his previous writer had died
yeah, so he
years
wasn't
ago.
even like they didn't even have him in the group of dragons that were supposed to come in. What is it called?
The threshing.
No, when they, what you just said it, when they like bonded with them.
Oh, bonded, yeah.
So he wasn't even supposed to be bonding with anybody. And he's like this grumpy old dragon man that, like it's like crazy that he is adapting to her and he's willing to do that because he's kind of cranky.
He's
So
kind of cranky.
so I thought that was kind of interesting that like, yeah, I like you. I kind of thought that she would almost like heal her, get like that almost just like this power of, and then
Yeah.
she did it, and then on top of that he also adapted to her. So I'm
hmm
like, huh, that's
Yeah, I
interesting.
thought that was surprising.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of just talked about this. What role
Yeah.
does Violet's chronic illness play in shaping her identity and her relationships with others? She has to be way more careful because she can't get herself in situations where she's kind of one on one with somebody
Mhm.
because no matter what, she's at a disadvantage right off the bat.
Yeah.
I think that makes her less trusting just by default because she
Yeah.
can't. Because there were times when they talked about like she didn't want anyone to know that she was wrapping her knees as much as
Yeah.
she had to because that's kind of a weakness.
Yeah.
And that's something that anyone would exploit
Mhm.
in this kind of setting. So she had a lot more to hide because she had a lot more to lose.
Yeah. I
And she
agree.
didn't want anyone to know that she had this issue, even with the healers, because the healers knew what she struggled with because they'd worked on her before.
Yeah, as a kid.
And so I'm remembering her kind of saying, like, please don't let on to anyone how much I've been here,
Yeah.
how much help I really do need. So it definitely put her in a place where she had to use her brain and figure out different ways to survive because she shouldn't have, honestly.
Yeah. That's what
So,
I'm like, yeah, it's definitely one of those when it was saying like, is it not that it's not believable, but it's like how did you? And I think
mhm.
some of it too was, I don't want to say like luck, lucky that some things worked out for her with certain circumstances or right place, right time kind of thing. But Yeah, I think it definitely, like you said, it kind of, I think she tried to hide it, didn't want to feel like that people couldn't rely on her, that she wasn't able to do things because then they wouldn't trust her or think she was worthy enough or good enough to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever task they needed her to do. Or they wouldn't be able to rely on her because she wasn't strong enough or she was hurt or whatever.
Yeah.
The next one, did you find the romance between Violet and Xaden compelling? Why or why not? I mean, I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it.
Like, I like their relationship.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought there was definitely like tension there because he was attracted to her right away.
Yeah,
And
but you don't
then
know
it makes
that.
it even, wait, what?
But you don't like know that right away. Like, I didn't
Right
really
away. Well,
get
I
that.
kind of thought because I don't know, there was like an initial, because she thought he was attractive right away too, right? When
Yeah,
she saw him. And then she found out who he was.
yeah, and then she
She
like,
was like, oh, yeah, he probably wants me to die because my mom had his dad executed.
which I think he kind of did at first.
Hold
I
on.
I think it's what
Can you still see me? Oh, okay. It like blacked out on my screen for a second.
weird,
Okay.
but I
So
think he did at first.
find her attractive.
No, 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 wanted to kill her.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
initially, like, he really did have this like hate for her because he didn't know her. He might have still had that like attraction, and it probably made him more angry that he was attracted to someone he didn't. But I think he actually did until he like was around her and knew her and all these things because his first initial thought was who she was and that's all that mattered to him until he actually like knew her. So I think he kind of battled at first
Yeah, I think you're right.
with
There was
that.
some internal struggle going on. And then their dragons are
Yeah,
mates.
yep, they're mates,
So
which
then
is
it was like, okay, now I have to keep her around.
yeah, like I have to keep her
So,
alive.
hmm
And then I think his struggle was like crap, I do like her, but she can't know that I don't want to. I think he really battled with like all of that.
because
Whereas
even when they started getting together, he was basically saying, like, this is only a physical
yeah,
relationship. You can't ever
like actually
fall
like
for
me.
me,
Yeah.
which that just makes it harder not
Yeah.
to, in
Also,
my
like
opinion.
his was like on the like obviously like protective, but then it's
Hmm.
like, okay, how are we like at this point, how are you gonna do that and not have some kind of emotional
Right.
connection? But
Yes.
obviously that didn't work out that way. So
Didn't stop them. How does the theme of power, physical, political, and magical play out in the novel?
that was the theme of physical, political, and magical. What does it mean by magical? Like their like powers?
I think there are different levels of, is it signets? I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the right way to say it,
Yeah. Signets. That's how I
because there are definitely some that are way more
yeah.
useful and beneficial than others.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that plays a huge role into who gets what access
Yeah.
down the line and how far their political career can go.
I agree.
Um, as far as like the political side of it, obviously it's hugely political.
Yeah.
You find out, and you
More and
kind of
more.
get the idea as you're reading that there is definitely some things the kingdom of Navarre is keeping their people from knowing.
Yeah.
Um,
They're like definitely hiding things for
yes,
her
it's
to like
definitely a,
feel.
yeah. So the theme of power and physical power, you're not in this world with the dragons and being a fighter.
Hmm.
If you're not physically strong, you're nothing.
Yeah.
So obviously you have to be strong to be powerful and to continue to move up. And then you just hope that you have a good signet that's useful to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Because if you're not useful,
Yeah.
you're
You have to
basically
have
nothing.
one. You have to have one or the other to kind of balance. Like, if you don't have that like power and straight strength and like that going against with you, and then you don't have a good signet either, it's almost like if she didn't have a good signet, I think things or a really good dragon, she probably wouldn't have been that great. But she had like
Hmm.
the best dragon. I will say though, I was kind of disappointed in her signet. How you say it? It sounds weird.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
That's how I've been saying it in my
yeah. It's
head. So
how
I don't know.
I think. I was kind of expecting like more
Mm-hmm.
of something
Does it turn
grand.
into more when she's able to control it?
I mean, I guess technically with control, yeah, but I just the idea of like it just being like the thunder, I just expected something like,
No, it's lightning.
yeah, lightning, sorry, not thunder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thunder's nothing
Yeah,
compared to
thunder's nothing.
lightning.
Yeah, lightning. I guess I expected something more because you hear like people's like reveal, and some of them I'm like, that seems so much more useful.
Like Xaden's is really cool.
Yeah, like his is, and
Really
his makes sense
useful.
and it fits him, and he's powerful and strong, so he's just like all around badass.
Mm-hmm.
Much, and apparently he's sexy, so you got that going too.
He's got a lot going for him.
But with hers, I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, well, he's the one of the most powerful dragons, and then I was like, oh, I mean that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but I just expected more of
Yeah.
something. But I
Yeah,
mean,
because they did really build it up for a long time.
yeah, and then it was like, okay, I mean, that's cool. In my head, I mean, I guess, like you said, like as it grows, like I'm sure she could do more with it. But I'm like, it's just like, okay, one strike. Will you be able to get like 80 strikes? Like, can you like, like down and just like bomb, I guess, essentially
Whole
like
fleet.
whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I just kind of was like, okay, well, that's cool. I just expected more.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, expecting a little bit more of a
With him, I guess. But also too,
sure.
I think it plays a toll when they say with the writer too. Like it has to be it's with
Mm-hmm.
both of their connections, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess I couldn't really complain about that signet, but I just expected more.
That's fair.
Yeah. But I mean, whatever. What do I know? What's the next one? What are your thoughts on the dragon's bond with their riders? Do you think the dragon's choices were justified? What's on the dragon's bond with their riders? I mean, I was actually surprised by their bond. Everyone else's didn't really, I guess, like weren't like as a big deal or as like cuz she was like the main character. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think that bond was it's still interesting to me.
So I wonder, and I don't know if you can answer this or not in the future books, if him picking her was a political move on the dragon's end because of who she is in the
Oh, like
kingdom,
with her mom
with her mom
being
being
okay.
the
I don't know. Honestly, and that might be something that like I didn't pick up on that like you might pick up on
because I
reading
feel
it.
like they need her to be alive and be a part of their
Some
team.
yeah, to like help
So
with
it was almost like Tairn picking her was necessary for the truth to come out. Like it had to be
yeah,
her. Because I'm not to the point where they kind of tell like she just found out what's really going on. So I don't know
yeah.
how it all unfolds, but I wonder if they needed it to be um
I don't
what's her
know.
mom's name? I can't even think of her
Can't even
mom's
think of
name.
her mom's
Is it
name either.
Lily? Lilith? They needed it to be
I think you're
her
right.
daughter. So I wonder if that was a political move
Move.
on the rebellion's end of saying like it has to be her
Yeah, I don't
and it
know.
has to be the most powerful dragon and the second dragon that also bonds with her or else she's not going to make it just because of
Yeah,
her illness.
maybe. I don't
So,
know. But yeah, I think I still I when like their relationship and like as you see it like unfold more, I don't feel like he like using her. He cuz I'm like he's adapting so much and like as grumpy and kind of like he is, like I really do think he like wants the best for her and like is like on her side and like really like for her. But I mean, that could have been like you said like the initial reason he
mhm.
went into
Well,
it.
and he did, now
Um,
that you're saying that, I do remember him saying like he chose her because of her heart.
yeah,
So he did see definitely some really good, powerful qualities in her.
and I find it
So
hard to
maybe it's
believe. Sorry.
that it's more political on his end.
Yeah, yeah, just because not that like it couldn't be or to like a certain extent, but he doesn't seem like a dragon that really does what people tell him to do.
Yeah, he's not doesn't seem very calculating.
Yeah, so I find it hard to think that like the dragon or people are like, you need to do this, and he's like, okay. But I mean, I don't know. Like I never really like thought about it like that, but that could have been like a some kind of move that he went in with thinking like, oh, this will benefit or we can
She
do
can
better
help
on
our
our end.
cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it does it that every other person's like dragon, it's not really as big of a deal, I feel like it all just I don't know if I feel like they do talk about their dragon and stuff, but like you don't
Mhm.
know their level of bonding because that obviously the main characters. So I don't have an opinion really on any other dragon, but
Yeah, they
I
don't
do
give
think
too
it
much into it.
surprises me that he picked her, just like thinking about you knowing the process and how dragons are, that that's who like the most powerful dragon picked was like the weakest link almost.
Mhm.
So it's like, that seems interesting. I
Yeah.
think you would have picked somebody like Xaden.
Mhm. Like his
Yeah,
equal, his human equal,
yeah,
for
like
sure.
he would have, and those dragons I feel like think like that. But the losing of his first rider, like that really like did him in. There could
Mhm.
have been some reason why in his head he went into this differently instead of like thinking of it as like a power move, like, oh, I have to get the most powerful. Like maybe he went in it with a different mindset because that affected him. Because then they usually say that sometimes like he almost died because like
Mhm.
you're that
Yeah,
connection.
some if the dragon dies, the rider dies no
Yeah,
matter what.
yeah.
But if sometimes the dragon doesn't
He
die, it just
almost died
depends. He almost died, yeah.
from
So that makes sense. He had more of a different perspective, and he was probably a little bit softer going into the
yeah.
situation.
Like he might have just had like different views on it after
Yeah,
that.
that's a good point with his history. Violet often struggles between following rules and trusting her instincts. How does this tension shape her development? Being a rule follower myself, it is hard sometimes to trust your initial gut and to go
Yeah.
with your instincts because it's hard when if you're in a situation where you have to kind of step out of line to help.
Mhm.
I think that that can be a challenging position to be in. So I can see the internal struggle that Violet had wanting to follow the rules because she saw all of the what do they call them with the rebellion relics?
Yeah, I
I'm totally blanking on what they
yeah.
call them. But the rule is they're not supposed to be in a group of more than 3.
Yeah, dang, that's
And she
exactly
sees all of them congregating
yeah,
together. So I think that also speaks to her character though, because she didn't turn them in. So she's starting to, I think, realize like it's not all black and white.
yeah,
There are some things that I don't understand. So she's giving them kind of a second chance and
yeah.
keeping that a secret. So I think that that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm a rule follower, but I also am a very black and white person. Like that's just it's that's just how I am. So I do relate with that. I would have a hard time a not following the rules, but to me it's like it's either this or that. That's just like where my mind goes a lot. But I
Mhm.
do like how you were saying with like like the internal struggle of like rule following or like breaking the rules. Like my mindset goes to like, okay, but what if I choose to go to it and it harms somebody? Or what
Mhm.
if I'm like, like your gut feeling, like sometimes like, what if I go with my gut and then it's wrong? And then I'm like, oh, I went with my gut instead of right or wrong or whatever. So I'm like, I could see that being an internal struggle. I think people in general actually just struggle with that like day to day life. And
Mhm.
sometimes some people don't. Some people really like, but I'm like, I don't because it's like, what if I'm wrong?
Some people are really not worried about it.
No, they just go what they do, guns a blazing.
So I wonder with Violet's mom making her go into this different part because she wanted to be a scribe, but her mom
hmm
forced her into this to the dragon side. So I wonder if her mom kind of betraying her a little bit made her not want to be such a rule follower. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of almost like rebelling.
Hmm.
Like I'll show you.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be your lapdog in here. I'm going
Yeah.
to do my own thing. I'm going to do what feels right for me, and I'm not going to go out of my way to appease you.
Well, I mean, she definitely
So,
has some struggles with like her mom and feeling towards that for sure. And that like continues on throughout the books, but like you're gonna when your mom forces you into like the most dangerous thing ever when you obviously really aren't like physically like just looking at her physically, like you wouldn't do that to your kid. Like if as a mother, like if you were like, hey, let's go read books or like I'm just gonna compare it's like real life stuff. Like if your kid like did that, you wouldn't throw them into football. You'd be like, hey, like let's do like band or chess. Like
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't throw
This
them
is
into
not
like
your activity.
yeah, like we're not gonna get you tackled every day and worry about concussions and torn ligaments and like you just wouldn't do that. So I feel like as
Right.
a kid, if your parent did that, it's like you're just throwing them into the wolves for your own selfish agenda for
Mhm.
whatever
So
reason, and
does
she
she
doesn't know why.
so Violet doesn't know why now. Does her mom ever say? Because to me, as a parent, I almost look at it and go like, did she want her to die? Like, does she want her to fail?
But yeah, like because like at this point in the book, you're like, there's I don't nothing makes sense on why you're doing this.
Yeah,
Like I
I'm
don't
looking at it going,
understand your
what's wrong
logic.
with the mom? What
Things
has
do
Violet?
unravel the more
Okay,
books go. Like you'll figure out things with
because it
that.
just seems like a death sentence in
But
general, and then specifically for
her,
her
yeah,
situation.
yeah. And her dad was a scribe.
Hmm.
So in her head, she just wanted to follow her dad. And
Yeah,
both of her siblings were writers. So it's like, you guys go do you. I'm not made for this. And I think the siblings, well, for sure the sister, because I remember them, that the sister was like fighting for her not to send her. Because she's like,
she
are
was
you
not
crazy?
happy
She's
with
going
her
to die.
going. Yeah.
Like you said, you're sending her to her death sentence. Like, are you dumb?
Hmm.
And so I know that the sister wasn't okay with it because she was like, there's no way she's going to survive this. Like, so yeah, I definitely think going into that, I think if like as a child, like I'm like, oh, if my mom pushed me into essentially something like that life threatening, I probably would have some rebellion against her too. Or maybe of the thought process of like, I think she goes through that where feels like she has something to prove though, because she's like, I'm here, I'm doing it, you're forcing me. So
Kind of motivates her to
yeah,
work
like
harder
I'll,
and stay
yeah,
alive and kind of prove her mom wrong.
yeah. Like I'm gonna do this, but I'm not doing it for you, kind of thing.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
let me pull up.
Kind of talked about this one.
Yeah.
Number 7.
What do you think of the way Violet's relationship with her family evolved throughout the story, especially with her mother and sister? Oh, yeah, there you go. Kind of the
Again, her mother's obviously toxic.
yeah. Obviously, her mother's evil.
Yeah, she's
Like you
got some
just throw your
rooted issues.
in this book with the mother. I don't really think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like much comes out with that.
Mm-mm. You
Like
just know her
you
mom
just
sent
put her
her.
in.
They are not allowed to interact with
Yeah.
any family members until they
Oh yeah.
graduate.
I forgot.
So,
So
and
you
then when
know
she does
nothing.
see her mom at one point, her mom just like
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even hardly acknowledge her. So
Yeah.
there's not much that's revealed there. You just know that there's this odd tension, obviously, because her
Yeah.
mom
Just
made her
different.
leave everything she had been training for. Because when you want to be a writer or a scribe or a healer, you're training your entire life to get to that point. So Violet's been training as a scribe, and then her mom just decided,
That's
didn't she
not
have
what you're
6
doing.
months? I think it was 6 months
Yeah.
to
Just like
figure
switch
out how
gears.
to survive in there. So not only did her mom like make her go, but she basically took everything away from her
Yeah.
initially. And then, of course, her sister is supportive of whatever Violet wants to do. And she knows she doesn't want to be a writer. So
Yeah.
is she trying to help her? So I think she has good relationships with her siblings and her
Yeah.
brother. They had a good relationship, right? Before he died,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
I
I have
think
to say, I did predict that one too.
no.
Yes.
Dang. I didn't. I was shooketh.
Once there was like that secret, it wasn't until the very end once there was like that secret kind of like where they're like, we have to take her to this place to
Hmm.
heal. And they were like, no, we can't. I was like, oh, her brother's there.
See, okay, I thought that was kind of weird too, but I thought it had to do with like just somebody with like Xaden's side that was like
Mm,
his mom or just something like weird with his deal. And then I was like, oh, they're gonna reveal something like weird, but that's not where my head went. But I will say
that's no lie. That's right where my head went.
when I read books, I really do try to like not think about like, oh, I bet unless it's like obvious, like you kind of figured I kind of figured Xaden and her would get together,
Yes. Yeah.
how or where, what. And then it kind of threw in, is it Dane?
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, maybe not. Maybe it'll be him. So you kind of do that little thing, but no, I didn't. I try not to like, because I don't want to be wrong, but then I also don't want to be right and feel like I ruined it for myself. So I kind of like let the story play out without like thinking too much. But
That's funny.
I didn't think that. But I
I
thought,
like to guess and I like to be right because I'm usually right. And I enjoy that. Like almost any movie we watch, I'll pause it and I'll say to Heston, this is what's going to happen. And it's usually right.
I'm sometimes right on those.
I think I have ADHD. That's supposedly a trait of ADHD.
Oh, there you go. How did
Um,
Xaden's past and his role as a rebel son affect your view on him? I don't really know if I think it did. I think it just explained it, made you understand
mhm,
him more. To me, it just made you understand like kind of like his like guards, his walls, like what he was doing, like their meetups, and it just kind of revealed more for me.
mhm.
It made me like him
Especially
more.
at the meetup
Yeah,
when she was listening to everything that he was
yeah,
saying, and he was saying, what are you struggling with? What are you struggling with? So he was genuinely trying to help all of
yeah,
these kids who are forced to be there because that's their punishment is to
yeah,
go be a part of the writers,
yeah,
which I think is crazy because you're really just strengthening the rebellion physically
yeah.
and then you're giving them dragons. So I think that was a
That was a
not a
weird
smart
move.
move on the kingdom's part.
Yeah,
But I guess they're just hoping that they
died
eventually die
out.
out.
That's what I think their thought was like, oh, we're the most of them would just die.
Yeah.
And but it's like, but the ones that don't, like Zayden's like, you just created like a
And
power
he's a
man.
huge asset
Yeah,
to the kingdom.
yeah,
So I thought that was an interesting punishment to force them all to be writers because you're just teaching them how to fight, how
yeah,
to like their fighting tactics, war, how to be in battle. And so you're
yeah.
just giving them more
Ammo.
power. Yeah,
Yeah.
more ammo essentially. So I thought that was an interesting move on
You
the
know what's
kingdom's
funny?
part.
I didn't really think about it like that. Really, like I was like that in my head. I'm like, that seems weird. But now when you like say it like to that extreme, it's like that was really, really weird. Because my head was like, oh yeah, they wanted to kill them off. Because in their head, that was like a way to kill them without killing them. But
Hmm.
then you, like you said, like a lot of them, I'm sure some of them probably did die. But then the ones you didn't, you're like, oh, you're just making them even more like
Yeah,
powerful. They're
way
getting
more
signets,
powerful.
they're getting dragons, they're getting stronger. Like they're learning
And
how to
not only
fight. Yeah,
that, more they're more united
yeah,
to with each other
yeah,
because they have a common enemy.
yeah. Like you're
So,
just power in numbers, man.
exactly.
They're helping it grow even more. Didn't think about that. That's funny.
Did the world building, including the quadrant system, war college structure, and dragon lore, feel immersive and logical to you? I did get a little lost with all of the different like areas and places of the kingdom and who fits in where and the
Yeah,
different rules. So I just think there's a lot to the world that this author has created, and it's a really cool world.
yeah,
So I think it's hard sometimes to translate that into writing your exact vision.
yeah.
So I did get a little bit lost, like the breakup of certain things,
Mhm.
I think. But for the most part, I don't think that's the most important area to focus on. I think it's all
Yeah,
beneficial to the story. So was it logical? Probably. Could I follow it all very well? I'm sure if I read it again, I could like really catch on to some things.
yeah,
Or maybe reading the second and the third book, things get a little bit clearer.
yeah.
It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where there's like 10 different kingdoms. They all do a million different things. So it's hard to like keep
Keep
track.
up.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm the same way with that. But I'm like you said, like as things get revealed, things start to make sense. But then also too, like sometimes if you like reread or go back, then you understand more. But I'm like you sometimes with like all of the different parts. Sometimes it's hard to like connect them all.
Hmm.
But I'm like you. To me, it didn't feel like I was confused or missing out on like the story as a whole. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel like it was like that. How does the novel portray the concept of loyalty, both to people and to institutions?
That's an interesting one because I think a lot of the characters do struggle with loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Dane, for example, who is painfully and so black and white loyal to the kingdom to
Yeah.
his own detriment of his relationships with his best friend, his relationship with the kingdom, his relationship with how he basically relates to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was willing to let her die in certain situations because of his loyalty to the rules and the institution.
Yeah.
Then you have Xaden on the other hand, who he's basically like, no, your life's more important than
Yeah.
the rules.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a struggle. But you also, Dane's dad is pretty high up in the military too.
Yeah.
So he grew up with that thought process of you don't question, you follow the rules blindly, basically.
You don't ask
And
questions.
yeah, you don't ask questions.
But you find out, obviously, that's another thing. There's a reason for that. When there's people like raising you like that and not letting you ask questions, there's a reason why they don't want you asking questions. So it's like an interesting thing to think. It's like most of the time when they're doing that and you are just like brainwashed and blindly just like trusting like that and not, then you realize, there's a reason why that you're doing that. And I should be asking questions. And like you said, the life is more valuable than the rule or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, the people matter more, but like you said, Xaden was more willing to kind of rebel, but not into the sense of like, I don't think anything like crazy or dangerous, but to somebody who's thinks they're the rebellion because that's not right. It's like, but you don't know like the full story. They're just getting fed
Right.
what they want them to feed to keep them where they need them.
They're just
So
telling them what they want them to hear to keep their thought process the way that the kingdom needs these people to be thinking.
yeah.
Oh, and I think Violet has a good intuition when it comes to certain people
Mm-hmm.
because she connected with, is it Rhiannon?
Mm-hmm. Right off the
Very
bat.
quickly, and she proved to be a very loyal
Mm-hmm.
friend so far. I don't know if things change later in the series.
Yeah.
I don't know. See her. Well, I don't know. She's not there at the end, so she's not seeing the truth. So it'll be interesting in the second book how that
Yeah.
unfolds with them going kind of reconnecting with the cadets down the line because I imagine there has to be some rekindling there. And then
Yeah.
for who, so I guess we'll see how loyal, what that loyalty meant
Yeah.
and will mean when the truth comes out, who's going to
Yeah.
be believed.
I will say I won't obviously tell you, but I was like you, that friendship and that like relationship made me nervous of like, is she gonna stay loyal? Like, is it really like good? I had those thoughts in my head reading that about them, of that fear of like it actually being like loyalty, or is she gonna turn her back on her? So I had those thoughts too. I'm not obviously gonna tell you what happened, but
Yeah.
that was a thought in my head of like the loyalty mainly with I think it's Rhiannon, mainly her because they were so close. So that was like a thought in my head. I'm like, how is this going to play out? But yeah,
Yeah.
loyalty is I think a big thing all across the board because then you have like your squads. So like you have to have somewhat of hopefully like loyalty there because you guys work so close knit. You have to learn each other and their powers and their weaknesses and stuff to help as a whole because you're not out there just fighting alone. And then like you said, you have the rebellion and then like the kingdom and like that loyalty and like kind of where you lie with that, and that the people who don't are looked at as you know rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like a big loyalty is like a big
It's a huge theme in
image.
this
Yeah,
book.
yeah, for sure.
Um, what did you think about the portrayal of authority figures in the book? Were there any you trusted? Yeah, to be honest, no. Not at that level because they didn't need the cadets and
Yeah,
there was no reason for them to connect on a deeper level because they're just
yeah,
waiting to see if they're going to survive.
yeah,
So I don't think that those relationships needed to be developed in the first book
yeah,
because there's no reason for any of the people in like higher power or teachers or anyone to really connect with these kids who are going
yeah,
through it because they know most of them aren't going to make it.
yeah.
So I'm curious how those relationships will develop. But there's that one example of one of the cadets' signet is he can hear people's thoughts,
Mhm.
but he can't control whose thoughts he hears.
Yeah,
So he's basically going crazy in the
yeah,
cafeteria. And the teacher who is in charge of teaching the cadets how to control their power,
yeah,
he just comes in and just snaps his neck right
yeah.
there. So I think if you're like a student or a cadet in that institution and you're seeing one of your teachers or professors or
Kill. Yeah,
whatever just snap some guy's neck because his signet was a risk to the entire kingdom,
yeah,
it's like kind of really makes you go, okay, you can't trust anyone until you can trust
yeah.
someone.
Well, like they're not getting emotionally involved.
Right. They
They
can't. There's no
can't
point. It's a
because,
waste.
like you said, if you're emotionally involved, you probably wouldn't have done that to the kid. I'm not saying
Right.
that was right or wrong, but like that, you would have been second guessing what you do or do. I mean, there's so much more involved when you get like emotionally attached that they just are like, because like you
They,
said, they're
they
not making it, they're not dying, they're literally weaning out people and like fighting people till their death if they need to. And like, oh, you didn't make it, bye.
bummer. You're
Yeah,
replaceable.
it's really barbaric.
Hmm. Very.
um, uh, were there any plot twists that genuinely surprised you? How did they change your understanding of the story or characters? So I was actually going to bring this up with this question was the brother one did surprise me. That was probably for me the big one because I didn't go there. I went with like I thought something on like Xaden's side that was gonna like unravel something. I did not go there, so I was shocked by that. I was like, oh, and then obviously you find out more with that. But I was like, that one surprised me. I don't think there was anything else that like surprised me like that.
Yeah, that big of a twist.
Yeah.
So for me,
Sorry.
right off the bat at the beginning of the book when they're crossing the parapet.
Hmm.
Is that how you've been saying it?
I called it the yeah, that's right.
The
The
parapet?
is it the parapet or parpet? I just probably said
Parapet?
parpet. Parapet?
Either
I
one
don't know,
sounds
whatever.
good.
The
So
thing,
right
the
off the
what?
bat when they were crossing that, she introduced a male character. I can't think of his name. And he was talking to Violet and saying he's been training for this. So she named him and kind of you got his like whole backstory
Yeah,
and you kind of right off the bat created this connection. And so I was like, okay, he's going to be important down the
yeah,
line. And he falls and dies
yeah,
right away.
yeah,
So for me, it was like, whoa, okay, nobody's safe in this
yeah,
book because you typically wouldn't create like that connection
yeah,
and give the backstory, like his girlfriend waiting for him and all of that. So I
yeah.
was surprised right off the bat. So from the beginning, that told me this author will throw anything at you
Mhm,
and nobody's safe.
mhm.
So that kind of changed my perspective reading the book going into it
Yeah,
going, okay,
and it's
here we
true.
go. Yes.
It really is. It's like anything could happen, and it
Yeah.
does, and it yeah.
Which brings me to the other one, Liam. I did not like that.
Mm-mm.
I feel like that shouldn't have
No.
happened. So that
I
sucked.
didn't bring that up. My head was thinking that was in the second book.
Oh, it's in
That's
this
why I
one.
didn't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I did not like that.
No, that was a rough one.
Especially because they developed his character and
Mhm.
his like true nature right away was so loyal to Xaden and
Yeah.
basically I owe him my life so I'm going to do everything for him. So you just imagine him being this formidable character and Xaden's right-hand guy as things progress and so for him to cuz his dragon died,
Mhm.
correct? So for him
Yeah.
to die, and then it's so frustrating because you're reading him die, going, "There's nothing wrong with you physically."
Yeah.
His dragon died, so
Yeah.
that's it. He couldn't survive without her after they bonded. So that was a tough one.
Yeah.
I kind of expected a big character to be taken out at the end during that battle, but I did not want it to be
Yeah.
him.
He was
So,
probably one of my favorite characters. So I was really, really,
same.
and I was thinking about loyalty. I was thinking about him with Xaden. For some reason, I was thinking he was in the second book. So I was like, didn't want to say anything because like he was
Yeah,
probably my favorite.
yeah,
And that loyalty was another like one with Xaden, and even with her, and just like literally stepping in and literally gave his life, and then that shows you Xaden's character even more. That whole relationship really showed more of him because somebody was willing to do that for him because of
yes,
what
very
he did for
true.
others. So that says a lot about Xaden and kind of like what he created like with his people and what they mean to him, and that they would be willing to do that for him. So that, yeah, that was a tough
That
one.
one
I
was
was
rough.
not okay with
Yeah,
that. I was like, really? We had to go there? But it
yeah,
tells you,
that
like you
one
said,
stung.
nothing's off limits. So that was a rough
Nobody's
one.
safe. Yeah,
Yeah.
was not happy with that loss.
Oh, sorry.
How did the
My
pacing of the novel affect your reading experience? I felt like it had a good pace. It was over a long period of time,
Yeah.
right? At least a year.
Yeah, because they made it. How long is? I don't remember how long the threshing is. Is it 6 months? Is that what it's called? The
It's a
whole,
long time.
because they go through all these different phases,
Yeah, to
and
get
then
to they
they
got to
like,
go to the gauntlet, the threshing, squad battle, war
yeah,
games.
and then they like have a certain part, and then they graduate, right? Like once they survive all that, there's like a portion of still having to like make it to, I guess, what, like, is it graduation essentially?
Because I
Doing
don't
your
think they
second
even
years.
graduated at the end of the book because they're in the battle still, or they
They
finished that battle.
so they
So I don't
weren't
know if
like
they.
second years yet.
No, I don't think they even technically graduated, or maybe they graduated, then they went on the out to fight.
Okay. So I mean, I guess essentially like a year. I mean, I guess if you
Yeah.
think of it like a school year, in my
So
head is,
it's a big chunk of time. I felt
yeah.
like she did a good job keeping things up to pace.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
didn't
that's
ever
a lot to fit
feel,
in one book.
I will say, I don't know if you'll think this. I didn't really necessarily, but I heard people say that from the first to the second book, they felt like the second book seemed like rushed. And I
Okay.
feel like people said they liked the first book better, which I feel like is typical with like series that the first book is like it's the new, it's exciting, like it's like a whole new world. So then you're kind of already in it. So I was really nervous to read the second one. No, I shouldn't say that. I wasn't really nervous, but I was kind of like, ah, bummer. I didn't feel that way with the second one.
Okay.
I actually really liked it. I don't think I necessarily liked it better or worse. I mean, it's just more of the story, so I enjoyed it because I just unraveled more. I don't know if maybe it was a little slower, but I still liked it. But I have heard people say that about it. So I'm curious to see
I
what you
think
think, but
people probably struggle with sequels because they have things in their mind of what they
mm,
think is going to happen. And when
yeah.
it doesn't go that way, then there's some disappointment.
Yeah.
I just try to keep an open mind. It's not my story. I just
Yeah.
get
I'm just here
to
for it.
participate in it a little bit. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
here for it.
Yeah.
Just be
Also,
entertained.
sometimes it's like waiting. Like if you like read that one, you waited the whatever time frame. Sometimes you go back to it and you're like, or you maybe like forget certain things, or you weren't like in the rush of it. Like with me, I read them all three and I was like, boom, next one. Like so it kind
Mhm.
of like kept me like going and like eager. It wasn't like you waited, a whole year and then it's like, okay, now it's out. So that kind of already felt like you were like dragging the story on. So I don't know if that like played a role for people too. Whereas I just went like bam, 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 like all into
Yeah,
them.
maybe.
Like I
That
was just, the
makes sense.
excitement was like going and I was able to just like crank through them all. I didn't have to like stop and wait.
Mhm.
Like this one now I have to wait till whenever the next one comes
Yeah.
out, which I'm not.
Is the next one supposed to be the last one, or do we not know yet?
I think I might be wrong. I think there's supposed to be 5.
Oh, okay. So this will be the fourth one then, right?
So I'm pretty confident I know for sure there's a fourth one, but I want to say I mean, there has to be one because I mean, if
Mhm.
not, she's evil because you can't do that. So
That's funny.
I know there's a fourth. I'm confident, but I want to say I heard or like Megan and Reagan said there was five, or there already might be out. Like she's committed to five. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
So
That's good to know.
yeah, so we still gotta
We're in it for the long haul.
yeah. Um,
Um,
what did you think of the ending? Were you satisfied, or did it raise more questions? I mean,
I think it was meant to raise
yeah,
questions.
I mean, that's
That's
what a
the
series
purpose of
did.
it.
They want you to come back.
Yeah, I was definitely satisfied with it
Yeah.
because it definitely sets it up great for the second book because you know the Venom are real and
Mhm.
the Warvian, is that how you been saying it? Warvian are the real threat, and they definitely alluded to that. And I kind of had that thought too because she talked about that book at the beginning
Mhm.
and how she wanted to find it and
Yeah.
bring it. But it was just a book of fairy tales of these
Yeah.
people that they were kind of using as examples to scare you into not overdoing your magic.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought that there was going to be some truth to that story, that fairy tale, because I
Mhm.
think there's truth in all fairy tales, even the old ones, whether they're like cautionary tales or,
Yeah.
you know, stories that have happened and they just kind of twist them into a little fairy tale or a nightmare in this case. So I think it was a good ending. I think they set it up really, really well.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the writer did a great job of dropping clues and hints throughout the entire book
Yeah.
so that at the end, when it came out that Venom were real and the Warvian were the real threat, it wasn't a huge, like, out of nowhere kind of thing. It led up to that. So
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I was happy with
Yeah.
the ending of it.
I didn't have any complaints about it. Like you
Yeah.
said, I think knowing especially a series like that's the whole point. Like if you watch any show or even like an episode in a series, they usually end episode ready for you to be like, what's going on? Because they want you to come
Mhm.
back. So
Right. Had this been a one off, it would be a
yeah,
little
it would have
silly,
been
but
like that's why I'm like that's why after reading the third one, I'm like, well, yeah, there better be a fourth because that's no,
that's
you
impossible.
can't
You
do
can't
that.
stop there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is gonna be more for you because I'm already done. But what predictions do you have, or hopes, or thoughts for anything really? Doesn't have to be just for Violet, but
So I hope that Violet can sit back because right now she's really upset with Xaden, I
mhm,
think. Or I can't remember. I know she wakes up, but I think Xaden doesn't know if she's like forgiving him.
mhm,
So I hope that she can understand like the situation
mhm,
because she was right off the bat like he betrayed me, I'll never love him again,
mhm.
to where I'm going like, okay, come on girlfriend, relax a little,
Yeah,
figure out what's been going on. He was trying to protect you,
yeah,
he was trying to protect you from Dane and his power. So I hope that she can step back and not hold that against him because what
yeah,
else was he supposed to do,
yeah,
honestly? So I hope that she can relax, and be okay with the situation and understand his uh, his intention there. And then it'll be interesting to see how the other cadets respond to her knowing the truth and her trying to tell them what's going on. Who's
yeah,
going to believe her? How she'll be portrayed throughout the kingdom.
yeah,
Are they going to completely destroy her reputation and try and tear her down?
yeah,
So, yeah, I'm curious how it will go moving forward. I obviously hope within the rebellion that everyone will believe her, and but that's obviously not going to happen or there wouldn't be a story, right? So, that's kind of my hope that she'll just forgive Xaden.
So did you pick up what happened at the end of book one
What do you mean?
with Xaden?
Like pick up what happened with him?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Well, I don't want to say it if you didn't.
Because it was from his perspective. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was from his perspective.
No, I'm lost now. Just tell me. It's okay.
Did you pick up that he became Venom?
No,
So I didn't want to say that.
I didn't pick that up at all.
Yeah. I didn't either. But Megan and them did. So that's why I didn't want to say it.
No, I'm glad you did because that's a lot to unpack. When did it happen? During the battle or what?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Because he was trying to save her.
reread the last part because it talks about them like going to bed
Okay.
after that battle. Reread that. I had to reread it because I didn't catch it. And then I figured it out once a little bit into the second one because the second one, I don't think this is going to ruin anything, but it kind of just like goes on. Like they just go on and they wake up and they go about their day. And it's just like, and then it starts and you're like, I went, oh my gosh, when did this happen? And I said something to Megan and them, and they're like, it happened in the first one. I was like, when? And she's like, did you not pick that up? And I was like, so I had to go back and read it. Even then, it was very subtle. So I think she like reveals it without revealing it. Like,
Okay.
so if you look like up notes, like it said like yes, Xaden is revealed to be Venom marked after book one, but
Venom marked. What is
yeah,
it? Is that like he has the potential to turn into a Venom or
yeah,
the process is starting?
because I think which I don't know, I don't think this is gonna necessarily ruin anything, even if you don't. But like Venom, it's like they're pulling. I think they pull the power from like the ground.
From the earth and they're not
Yeah,
supposed to channel like
and
that.
so from like that point, it says it like to me where he did, but it wasn't like fully. So it didn't like take him over,
Okay.
but it was enough to obviously like he did it so that the deed is done kind of thing.
Hmm.
So then you obviously figure all that out with like, but it says like he's revealed, but she specifically does in book two.
Okay.
So it's like she reveals it, but then actually reveals it. But I didn't pick up on it. But when you were talking, I was like, maybe she did pick up on it. So that's why I was like,
I did.
so yeah, so go back and read it, and because it's like the part which I don't know if you remember that part where they like it's literally after it they go to bed
Okay.
and there's like a whole thing they go to sleep. It's like very subtle. I still reading back. I'm like, but Megan's like, yeah, it said it. I was like, what? They didn't say it. And so yeah, that was kind of a bummer.
Interesting.
Yeah. So sorry to ruin that for you.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you did. I'm excited to go back and see where it comes into play.
I almost made it through without
I
revealing.
wouldn't say it was a ruin because the reality is I'm gonna read it anyways, so it's not like it's a
Yeah,
spoiler.
but I kind of
And
wish you were like me and was like read and was confused and then like, what? What did that happen?
Mhm.
Because that's how I was.
Because that
Reagan
would
said
have
she was the
happened.
same thing. Reagan's like, I did what? We were both like, when did you pick that up? I started the second book completely confused. Well,
Oh,
not completely
well,
confused, but I was like, what's going on? And then it like reveals it, but like casually. So I'm like, well, to me, I guess it was casually because I didn't pick up what she was putting down. So I was like, oh, we just,
so I guess
when did
I'll
this
have to wait and
happen?
see if there's a way back from that.
So yeah. So let me know kind of what you think starting it if you
Mhm.
understand what I'm feeling. But read it and see if maybe like now that you know, if you're like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was fun. I'm glad we could end the episode like
It's
that.
funny. Yeah, that was good. I will say I haven't read like a fantasy book like this
Mm-mm.
because I read Twilight. I read all those like kind
Yeah.
of fantasy books when I was younger. Now I read more fiction, but like potentially realistic fiction, if that makes sense. So it was fun to kind of go back into like a younger mindset when I enjoyed more
Yeah.
fantasy
I kind of agree
because
with you because
I
I don't think I've read a fantasy in a long time either. And so I'm
same,
like
yeah,
you, I kind of enjoyed like the imaginary world and being able to
world
kind of think that way. Like you said, like creativeness, the author, kind of how she made her own world essentially. So I think it was kind of fun to be like in that because I haven't, like you said,
transformed. Is that the right
yeah,
word?
I have enjoyed it and I enjoyed all of them. So hopefully Hopefully you do. We can get more
Yeah,
theories
I'm
after
excited to read
the
the
second
second one. We'll go over the second one in 6 months when I finish it, because if it's bigger
one. We'll
than the
see you
first
next
one,
year.
it's going to be a while.
By the time the fourth and fifth are out, we'll come out with a second one.
After the movie series.
Girl, I'll be there.
Yeah.
They're pretty big, but well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I'm sure a lot of people have read the book, and or if not, I hope you read it. And sorry if we ruined anything for you. You
Mm-hmm.
should still read it. But yeah, if anyone has any like thoughts or questions or theories, we would love to hear 'em. Chit chat.
Before we post this episode this week, we should do like a poll on Instagram, like, have you read Fourth Wing?
Oh yeah, and see.
You should
Also,
do. You should post that.
we could get people to like tell us what other ones like books they've really liked and see if we want to read and do one on one of those
Yeah,
too.
that's a
But
good idea.
I bet you, I feel like the books, those books are like popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
I see people with them. I'm like, it's almost like a Twilight phase where like everybody's reading them.
It's Twilight for us,
Yes.
because Twilight was also from. It's just aged with
Yeah.
us.
It just ages us. Yeah, I really liked the storyline. It was fun. I thought the whole like dragon thing was just it was fun. I liked it.
I did when you were explaining it to me. I'm like, I can't read this.
That's so funny. Well, I'm glad
And I
you
had
did.
heard everyone talking about it, and
Yeah.
so that automatically makes me want to go. Well, I'm not doing that.
I'm not gonna be like everybody else.
Exactly,
Don't tell me
which
what to
we've already
do.
discussed.
I'm my own person. I don't do what everybody else does.
Yeah,
You're like Tairn, the dragon.
old and grumpy.
Yeah, pretty much. That's so funny. Okay, well,
All right.
it was fun.
Well,
We will talk to y'all next
next
time.
week. Have a good rest of your week and enjoy your weekend.